Yo, how's it going everybody? Ray here. Hope you're doing well. Today what I got for you is something genuinely a little bit different than what I usually do. Something that people might not know about because it was planned really last minute. Well, planned and recorded pretty last minute. This is the podcast that I'm in with ArraySeven and Raburn. It's definitely something that, without a doubt, I'm very excited to take a part of. In this first podcast with B4nny, he was our special guest, obviously, which was really exciting. And I do have to give all the credits to Raburn for making that possible, because that was really fun for me. Pretty much in this episode, we talked about Rally Call, we talked about matchmaking, the esports arena LAN, and also the global whitelist meeting, which is something definitely interesting to me. And it was definitely awesome to have B4nny on to give a lot of that insight, because I am not an extremely competitive player. I'm just getting now into UGC Silver. You'll see me talk about that later in the podcast. I would also like to apologize in advance for my really loud keyboard. It's incredibly loud, pretty much because, as you can see in this, my mic is super close to it, and I did not have a noise gate on my stream, so that was incredibly loud. I also didn't turn off the follower notification until like a third of the way through, so I apologize for that. I know this one was really choppy, and want to know why? It's because I was in matchmaking about half an hour before we started. So this is what I was doing half an hour before the podcast started, which to me is pretty hilarious. They're in the Missing Intel podcast.
Ray, I'm gonna go.
I feel bad. No, don't go in. I feel bad. I need to tell them that they're probably like, dude, Ray's so gay, dude. So good playing matchmaking.
Ray. Game lol XD.
So enjoy this podcast featuring my really clicky keyboard, Uncle Dane's dank memes, and also B4nny getting interrupted every 2 seconds by my follower notification. Something I'd also like to talk about is, I'm not sure if I'm going to be uploading a whole podcast like these in the future, but if you guys liked it and you want me to keep uploading it on my main, I'll see how this does, but depending on the reception, I'll definitely be looking forward to uploading the other ones. I just want to raise awareness for this because, again, it was very last minute, and I know that a lot of people had no idea, but shoutouts to B4nny for hosting me. Thanks Uncle Dane for showing up to the stream, and I don't know, we needed some of those memes, because sometimes conversations get a little stale, a little too serious, but thanks for lighting up the mood. Yeah, we definitely look forward to having guests like definitely Uncle Dane and Funk later on in future streams, so I hope you guys enjoy the video. I'll catch you next time.
Welcome to the Missing Intel Podcast 2017. My name is Raburn, and joining me we have a new host to Missing Intel, that is Ray.
Hi.
We also have the old guard, ArraySeven.
The other Ray in the server, as a matter of fact.
This is a recurring theme on this podcast, apparently. And we have special guest joining us, legendary TF2 player, two-time world champion, Froyo B4nny.
I wish I had a Ray in my name.
Need to conform.
Yeah, I can be Rainy.
Oh God. Let's keep B4nny. I think it fits you.
Okay.
But anyways, guys, this is the first podcast of the year. Missing Intel. It's not anything special. You don't have like the best. We normally don't have the best of the best with us, and we're not either just casual players either. We come from different walks of the scene. Some of us have been playing competitive Team Fortress 2 since the game came out. Some of us are strictly just into competitive. Some of us are more just strictly casual, and others are they're figuring out where the hell they are.
Pretty much, right? Yeah. I just recently got on a team. I was playing in Steel, and like the team I was on, we had some coordination problems. I got invited to a different team. In the meantime, there's Silver, and we might be playing in Plat. So I don't. Yeah. So I don't know. Like I'm just trying to figure out where I am right now. Pretty much. Yeah.
Ooh. You know, are you guys going to cut your way to ESCA invite? Yeah, match for Froyo Tech.
It's 3 letters.
It's the only way to the top, man.
Yeah.
Gotta do it.
That's pretty much how you
But
do it, yeah.
anyways, to start the podcast, let's talk about something that's been, you know, it's been a pretty big topic of 2016, and I feel like it will continue to be a big topic in 2017, and that is matchmaking.
Matchmaking, yeah.
It's been almost a year since matchmaking was released, and we've seen some strides, we've seen some step backs, depending on who you ask. And so, like, Ray, I think you've got the most experience out of, at least out of the Rays, you've got the most experience with matchmaking.
I don't know, like, I play matchmaking pretty much since it came out. I've played it way more than casual. Probably about, like, 600 matches just in matchmaking, which, I don't know, is a little crazy, but, it's kind of hard to, because I don't know.
Okay, so here's some random guy.
At the beginning, there were like, we had a lot of hackers. That was another issue.
He's done stuff, but
my follower notifications also really loud and messing me up. But yeah, there's a lot of hackers. Like right now, I think the best way to put it is that it's just kind of an organized pub, like more of an organized pub. When you play in a scrim and then you go and you play matchmaking, it's, I don't know,
it's a different feeling.
It's like a completely different feeling, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my experience with matchmaking, I don't know. I can't bring myself to. I can't rip myself away from, you know, like the daily pugs and everything. I guess just because it's so right now it's so foreign from. I guess it's just that competitive player talking so foreign from what I know as competitive TF2. You know. You don't have like a spy being run full time along with your 3 bot snipers.
It's 3 letters.
But honestly, I think matchmaking. I think it's in a tough place right now. It's gotta get that right. It's just gotta get just the right update, and it's gotta get the right promotion from Valve to start, you know, functioning past what we have now, where you just play the same team over and over again, really. And that's kind of why I've always been, you know, not necessarily less supportive, but I just haven't been playing it as much as I have been, like, playing Face It, or, you know, Mixed Champ, you know, just the staples that we have that are also doing work aside from Valve. And, B4nny, I want to hear your opinion on matchmaking, because, you know, you saw it at the ground floor, and everything, and so how do you think it's coming along in your eyes?
Well, there hasn't been enough change, definitely, to make it popular
it's
or
3 letters.
functional or satisfy the competitive players. How did he claim that? It came out in July, I think, and since then it's changed very little. I mean, even since the beta, it's changed very little, and I think it's fairly obvious what the problems are. I'd say there's probably 4 main things that need to be
He's done
changed,
stuff, but I guess no, he didn't make a HUD.
1, better placement and ranking, like an elo system or something. Placement matches, so you're not just grinding your way up, but you can start at a high rank that's appropriate for you. 2 would be some sort of incentive for people to play, like item drops, something like that. 3 would be class limits of some sort. And the 4th thing, oh man, I had it before. Possibly loosening some of the graphic restrictions.
For sure, yeah. That's another thing.
It's 3
I would
letters.
say all of those things have kind of been accomplished by Face It, which is kind of, I'm glad you mentioned it, because I think in a way it kind of proves that a matchmaking system for TF2 that is, you know, fully fleshed out can work very, very well. So now we're just kind of waiting, I suppose, for Valve to make those things happen. Back in October, they did announce that they are working on some major updates, including the Pyro Pack, improvements to competitive mode, a new update with campaign and all that stuff. So I can only hope that that comp update that's coming will include those kinds of things. those 4 things, I would be honestly shocked if it didn't have some sort of class limit and some sort of item incentive and some sort of ranking restructuring.
It's 3 letters.
As far as the graphic thing, I'm not sure if they're budging on that, but they've slowly eased up on a couple commands so far. I think the most recent one was the brightness command, I think they allowed. But yeah, I would be pretty surprised if they didn't start making some major changes to really kickstart interest in the competitive mode again. They certainly haven't given up on it, it's just a slow process as always.
Yeah, with Valve, pretty much everything is a slow process now. But yeah, I feel like even in casual, to sort of move the conversation a little bit, like just the ranking system, the elo system, sometimes it's just not enough, you know, because like you always get elo even if you lose. It's not that good of an incentive.
Casual mode isn't quite elo, it's just an experience rank up thing.
Right,
and,
yeah.
In pubs, I think it works, it's fine. I think the whole idea of like pubs.
Okay, so here's some random guy. He didn't do anything
kind
important.
of ridiculous. But we can
I mean, he's done stuff, but I guess no, he didn't make a HUD.
But yeah, I think just the pure ranking up constantly doesn't really work that well.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be a little bit more dramatic. Like I think, for example, when I started playing matchmaking, I think if I played a few games and performed well and won every game, I should have probably been placed into like maybe rank 10 or so, and had to work up to rank 18. I'm rank 18 now, but it took a very, very, very long time.
Yeah, like I've been rank 8, 7, 8 for so long, and just now that I like rank up to 9, it takes a really long time. I don't know, but yeah, it's a little iffy with the elo.
I think everyone's kind of had that image of what matchmaking means. I mean, I know at one point I thought that, and I still kind of stand by the idea. Like once you get to rank 18, or you get to like, the #1 player or the top 5 players, you get an unusual that you can only get that way from doing it, or something like that. But Array, you've been pretty silent on this topic. You got any nuggets of knowledge you want to drop?
Yeah, I actually think that the whole sixes format isn't exactly the best for the sort of like matchmaking that TF2 needs.
Oh.
Because the thing with sixes is that I feel like sixes are such a higher skill ceiling. Because at least with 9 people, sometimes someone can carry and sometimes people can get lucky. But with sixes, there's such a small room for error. And the kind of communication that it requires for a proper sixes team, to actually have some sort of competitive, nature to it whatsoever, you can't really get that normally from just lobbying up and matchmaking. Even with 2 people or 3 for that matter. I just think that, if Valve really wants matchmaking to take off, you need to add the 9v9. I would love to play some 9v9. Are you kidding me? That sounds fantastic.
Well, let's also think about this. Let's remember that there just so happens to be another game out there now where they have a matchmaking system that's working pretty well, and they still use 6v6, and it still takes communication. So at what point is it like not on the fault of Valve that its players aren't properly communicating? Like that, Valve's given us a new voice codec, so we can't say that's an issue now.
Well, it isn't so much Valve's fault that we're not communicating. It's our fault we're not communicating. I mean, obviously, but the type of communication it takes, where you call out where things are, you mention your Uber build percentage, and you actually cooperate. It's very difficult for
3 letters.
In my opinion, the average player to really get into that. I just feel like, you need to make competitive a little bit closer to casual, not 100%, but closer to casual for people to actually get into it.
I guess I can see your point. In Highlander, you really don't need communication. So.
But you need communication helps. Communication can make all the difference, But I feel like it's less reliant on it, because like I said, there's such a small room for error in sixes.
Maybe that is. I don't know if I'd necessarily agree, but that could be. I can see that as being an issue just because I have seen. I mean, we've all been there. who's been in a Sixes game where there's just absolute garbage communication or no communication at all. Sixes, I mean, a lot of people who are in the competitive community know in Sixes you need communication to have
so
any
he's
hopes
some
of
random
winning.
guy. He didn't do anything important.
But I guess for this, I think
he's done
Valve
stuff,
needs
but I
to
guess
show
no, he
something
didn't
more
make a
like
HUD.
how and why communication is important. You know, always thought something that would help with it is just, you know, feature player tutorials or something on the menu teaching you about better communication or better this, you know, kind of like a community spotlight of someone who's showing the right thing. But I don't know. I think 6v6 is definitely going to be the game, and I think there's no reason for it not to be. It's had so much work done on it. There's so much evidence supporting why it would be the ideal game mode. But moving on to a topic that is somewhat similar is balancing for competitive. Something we all know needs to happen, right? We've been, me and B4nny knows, and the competitive community knows, been begging for it for the longest time. In fact, the whitelist meetings have part of the discussion from it was about the need for these balancings. But one thing I think a lot of players, a lot of competitive players, and a lot of casual players don't even think about is that Valve's got something that they also have to protect, right? And I know casual, like trying to balance casual, that would never, that'd be a nightmare. But at the same time, we also have to realize that Valve might not want to sacrifice the casual, the way it's played now, the casual game, for competitive, just because they know what they have works. And they don't want to, you know, have a completely different experience for someone after an update. So do we realize that Valve needs to do this, or what do you guys think? Do you think Valve is trying to keep the casual community in mind with these updates so they don't just, you know,
he's done stuff, but I
displace
guess no,
their
he
larger
didn't make a
community
HUD.
in favor of their smaller community and the future?
Well, I think that to start with, you kind of have to tackle this problem that casual itself is almost impossible to balance. And the reason I say that is because team sizes are not constant. They fluctuate. It could be a 1 versus 1, a 2v2, up to a 12v12. So that implements tons of variables in balance. Also, there are no class limits whatsoever. So you could have 0 medics, and that could make a match feel really broken, or you could have 12 heavies, and that could make a match feel completely different. So how do you actually balance something in a pub? What defines
so
balance?
some random
There's
guy.
so many
He didn't do
variables
anything important.
that can't be controlled. There's also a million
he's
different
done
game
stuff,
types
but
and
I
maps you
guess
could
no,
be
he
playing.
didn't make a HUD.
And you compare that to a competitive setting where the team sizes are fixed, you have fairly consistent game types, and you have consistent class presence, and that just has so many more controlled variables that I think that balancing that is much more attainable and much more logical. And I still can't really think of any situation where the game itself being balanced around competitive play actually has any notable impact negatively on pubs, or any worse than the already crazy imbalances that are possible in pubs.
Very good points. And,
don't you think though that if they would like introduce class limits in pubs, I think people would just get more mad? Like when they removed the ad hoc connections, when they introduced casual, people were already saying like TF2 is becoming too competitive, and like it's not as silly as it was, right? I mean,
yeah. I don't think Valve would ever introduce. I don't think Valve would ever introduce at least not strict class limits on a pub, because that's kind of what Team Fortress 2 for the longest time has always been known for. Because I can tell you right now, that other game, they did that, and I can honestly say just playing that game casually is it's a nightmare. Because it comes down to the very basic problem. I want to play this class, but I can't play it. I'm not happy now.
I don't get why you guys are against saying Overwatch. Is that what I'm getting?
No, I'm just saying like class limits strictly for casual mode probably wouldn't be the best idea.
Saying that game gives me hernias.
Okay.
I don't enjoy it.
I'd just like to say I don't think that Valve would or should put class limits in casual. I think that they can balance competitive and leave casual as it is, and any changes that improve the competitive setting won't actually detract from the casual experience as it is now.
Right, because it's ideally it's a win-win situation. You know, competitive community gets more love. That means casual community is getting more love and more updates as well. And you know, ideally, in an ideal world, big things happen around the competitive community. Well, big things will be happening in the casual community too. I mean, just look at CS:GO. They have huge game-wide events just for their majors that impact people who could give a shit about competitive CS:GO. But Array, do you have anything on that topic? Because you're the person who specializes in casual play.
I don't know. There's a couple of changes I would like to be made to casual, but I'm not sure if they're exactly the greatest idea. I'm kind of on B4nny's side as far as class limitations, because, I mean, come on. I don't want to stop anyone from, you know, doing what they want to do. It's kind of what pubs are for. Excuse me, casual. Right. It's kind of what they're for, but, I mean, on the other hand, I think it's worth putting, like, kind of a notification that there's already, like, 5 spies. That's not a good idea, you know?
I agree.
I know that there are a couple, like, custom servers out there that'll use, like, those Quake sounds, you know? And then every time you're, like, there's already 2 snipers on your team, like, you select the class, you know, and then you hear, like, this warning sound or whatever, you know, and then text comes up saying, hey, there's already 2 snipers, you know, play something else, otherwise you'll be ridiculed or something like that, you know? And, I mean, I'm not talking about that sort of dramatic stuff. I mean, you don't want to humiliate anybody, you know, but I think it's worth mentioning that we should advise people not to, you know, be the 4th sniper. And, I mean, look, I don't have a problem if they're good at what they do. It's just the people who aren't good at what they do that cause the problem, you know?
Yeah. Also because new players are always tempted to just, like, play spy, play sniper, because it's, I don't know, sniper, they might think of, like, other games, like, oh, it's similar, I'll get into it easy. But TF2 is such a high skill ceiling, like, you could have 3,000 hours and still have room for improvement.
Case in point here.
Yeah, putting small little tips like that, I don't think would ruin anyone's experience. It would just help them learn the game, I think, which would be positive.
Yeah, I think that's actually the best idea, because, I mean, everyone's just gone into a casual game to, you know, kill some time or something, and they've got 4 snipers and 4 spies on their team. But, you know, there are things to think about, talking about these unlocks and the classes and everything, and poor segue into the whitelist. Those who know, there was just a whitelist meeting right now, or yesterday, and you guys decided you were going to do an experimental whitelist for pugs and everything, and keep the official whitelist as it is right now through the ESA LAN. Correct?
Well, it's actually quite a mess, to be honest, because the meeting was organized by Mr. Slim, and at the end, essentially, there was no true consensus of, like, which items were, you know, that should be banned or unbanned, like, in totality. There were a couple items that people were willing to experiment with. I think that the list of the most controversial items were the Machina, the Girardi, the Rescue Ranger, and the Cow Mangler of what is currently allowed. And for what is currently not allowed that was debated to unban, or yeah, to unban would be the Quick Fix, the Solemn Vow, the Pompson, the Delocos Bar. I think that was it. And the problem, though, is that the timing of this whole thing has been quite a nightmare, because we're trying to get all leagues around the world to get on board with the global whitelist, which means they all need to be able to make these changes during an off season. And there's also a international LAN that's happening next weekend, and people don't want to compromise that event to make tests to the whitelist, apparently, or to drastically introduce new items during the whitelist.
Yeah, you don't want to. A lot of people don't want to mess with the money.
Yeah. So, and then you also have the problem that Mr. Slyn is only assuming that the people that run pugs are willing to test these things. Yeah. Because I've even seen resistance, because he was proposing that PugChamp be the place where these things would be tested, and I've seen resistance from the developers of that website about cooperating with that. So from the beginning, that already seems like a problem. I think what needs to happen, and what happened with our last global whitelist, was everything that we said was going to be legal is legal, so now you use it, and then we can reconvene in a week. That's what happened with the base jumper and atomizer. We didn't say the base jumper and atomizer are, you know, to be tested necessarily. They aren't actually legal. They were legal for all intents and purposes. They were as legal as any other item, but they were considered like the most scrutinized, you know? But they were still legal just like any other item, and so that forced people to give them a fair shot and actually try them and push them to their limits. And I think that's what needs to happen again with the items that are being unbanned. I think what a lot of people they refuse to acknowledge that if items have been banned in the past but have been changed since then and haven't been reevaluated, those items could no longer be a problem.
Yeah, and have you guys thought about? I know. Have the invite players thought about perhaps running in-house pugs with this idea whitelist? Because I know that's what most of like the open pugs and everything were doing yesterday. Like in the daily pugs, we were running our the quote-unquote new whitelist, the experimental one. Which, side note, quick fix. But I mean, let's actually talk about that. I kind of want to explain the whitelist very briefly to any new people.
Yeah, please do.
Because, okay, for those who don't know, whitelist is kind of it's literally just a list of items that are not allowed in competitive because they're deemed to be too unbalanced, too game breaking, not raising the skill ceiling of a class. Which is why the quick fix, I believe, the most out of all the items that have been considered is a controversial one because there are a lot of differing opinions on it. And you have people like B4nny, if I remember correctly, you said that you don't think it's that big of a deal because of the healing changes and the smaller buff that you get. Correct?
I think that the weapon needs to be reevaluated because it's been nerfed in two ways, essentially. For one, it no longer has the special privilege of letting medics run as fast as scouts when healing them. All mediguns can do that, so that's kind of a subtle nerf. And then two, the ubercharge building rate of the quick fix was reduced from 25% to 10%. The original problem with the quick fix back in Season 14, when it was used at LAN with high stakes and all that, was that the quick fix gave you essentially a perpetual uber advantage because it built so fast that the window of time to push on your uber advantages was quite large, so it was very forgiving in that aspect. But I think that with making changes to the build rate, it has completely changed that dynamic, or it potentially could have, and I just want to find out by testing it. That's basically my whole stance. If it's still just as game breaking as it was before, then certainly ban it. But if it's not, and it's a non-factor and most people won't even touch it because it's so much harder to use, then it won't affect the game whatsoever.
Alright. And the other main side of the argument I've seen, and honestly I think the best other case that I've seen is I believe it was Rando was talking about it, because if I recall correctly, he's the only other pocket who is around from that land, correct?
From that LAN, I think he's probably the only pocket that's still playing, but at the same time, I played that LAN and my team won that LAN, so I know how the quick fix works.
Yeah.
Perhaps even better than him because that item ruled the LAN and we won.
Yeah. 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 I know his main argument was just the fact that it can just purely be a lot harder to kill the medic. You know, roamer bombs in, pocket just jumps him out of the way, and scouts kill the roamer. And I think my biggest issue coming as a medic main, because I could see some of the flaws, at least what were to me flaws of the quick fix. You know, like I'm healing the roamer up before he goes for a play, and I'm sitting at low health because I just survived a chase, and I accidentally get jumped up into the air and get cratered.
Yeah, that can happen.
That's something that haunts my dreams now that the quick fix is around, because I'm afraid that's going to happen. But at the same time, it's just, I remember playing in those pugs with the quick fix, and it was just like we were running the Kritzkrieg to counter, because Kritzkrieg, for those who don't know, now builds faster than quick fix, so, and it just deletes a quick fix. But just the issue, it just felt like that we were constantly running into is we were just holding until we got Kritzkrieg, and then we'd push, and then we'd just wait and hold, because we couldn't push into them, because just killing them in a fight, or if they popped quick fix, that was it, we had to leave, because we couldn't even focus firing them. It just wasn't enough. Even if we managed to kill whoever this medic was healing, they just swapped to someone else and the rampage would continue.
Right. I do like that you at least acknowledge, you know, there's some issues with the quick fix, like as in downsides, like what you mentioned. If you're healing a soldier and he jumps, like you're kind of at risk of being put way out of position or even taking fall damage.
It's something you don't want to do. I know, especially that you guys wouldn't want to have happen when you've got Corsa sitting on sniper on second point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I guess the thing that bothers me the most about the quick fix discussion is that people ignore all of those downsides and they only focus on what you can actually like positively do with it. And sure, you can jump your medic away from a soldier. That's undeniable. You can do that. But doing that creates plenty of other opportunities for the team playing against you, and it creates weaknesses in your team. For example, the quick fix, it heals, it buffs to only 50% of buffs, I believe. So you don't get a full overheal like you would with the minigun or crits. And that alone makes everyone except your pocket soldier essentially way more vulnerable. If you look at stats around the quick fix era, pockets were getting around 50% heals at times. And demos, scouts, roamers, they were getting almost completely neglected because you just had to tank your pocket. The quick fix doesn't really work well with flashing other people. It's pretty much all or nothing on your pocket. So, I mean, sure, you can jump your medic away from an incoming soldier, but if that soldier bombs your demo, he's going to have less health and your demo might just be dead. Or they team push your flank and your flank has no buffs, so they get rolled. Like, it creates other vulnerabilities that people tend to ignore just because they're used to this style of the only way to break a stalemate is to bomb the medic who has regular Uber and he gets forced.
I will say that in those pugs, I personally believe it sucked to be a demo man, because even a demo man just rolling out, a demo man wouldn't even have, he would show up to mid with almost no health because of the quick fix. He couldn't get a proper buff to go anywhere. So, yeah.
And before that was a worthy trade because you'd have a huge Uber advantage, but now the question is that trade-off actually worth it if you're not actually building at a rate that's incredibly faster than the minigun?
Yeah. And I just saw this in chat, so I kind of want to jump to that topic, and then we're going to get back to the solemn vow. Why would someone just said it, and I just saw it, but why do so many people care about the quick fix when there's the soda popper? B4nny, I want to know your opinion on the soda popper, because it did get nerfed, but you know, in the hands of an invite scout, even the worst weapon can become a decently dangerous one. So what about the soda popper? And I know it builds its hype meter based on damage dealt now, but do you still think that there could be any underlying issues? Because I mean, once a scout, even if a scout gets that, he's just immediately almost untouchable by anything but another scout.
Right. It could be, but that's the whole point of testing it, is it's never been legal in 6s, so there's no way of actually knowing that. And of course, the nerf, I think, will have a huge impact on the way that the weapon works. Before, you just run and you'd get it, so every time you show up to a fight from spawn, you have a full hype meter. But now you actually have to deal damage, and I'd say the soda popper is worse at dealing damage than the default scattergun. You only have 2 shots, so...
It was valued for its survivability.
Yeah, but so committing to close range fights and denying soldiers and all that is incredibly risky and less effective because you have less ammo. So the question is, does the jumping even ever come into play? You know what I mean?
Like with the jumping, you get a directed soldier, and you can get instantly
Not
shut
even,
down.
Honestly, I don't even know if you'd have to worry about that with as long as your scouts are playing competently.
Yeah.
But okay, so plus the soda popper, there hasn't been much that much testing with. Like I never saw it yesterday being played once yesterday. But there is an item that it caused more controversy, honestly, than I thought it would when it came to the table, and that was the Solemn Vow, a weapon that, from listening in on the meeting, it was just, I don't know, it seemed like everyone was fine about it until they started talking about it more. Then the more they talked about it, the less they liked it. And the main issue that it seemed to be was one of the thought processes that goes into the whitelist is it going to lower the skill ceiling? And actually, Array, I want to know your opinion on it. The Solemn Vow being used in competitive, how do you think that will do for? How do you think that's going to impact the game, especially for, you know, like the newer medics or something?
Honestly, it's, you know, I can see it as a kind of a crutch, but I mean, if you're doing things right, you don't need the Solemn Vow. I mean, everyone who's dealing damage is aware of everyone's health, you know, for the most part. I mean, it shows you how much damage you're doing, you know? So I almost feel like any team that's communicating properly enough will have enough of an idea of how much health everyone's sitting at in order for the medics to run the Uber Saw, which probably is a very game-changing weapon, to say the least. And I'd rather use the Uber Saw than the Solemn Vow, just because, I mean, the Solemn Vow, as useful as it is, doesn't quite come near to 25% Uber charge in a second, you know?
Yeah, that's why I was kind of confused. I was almost confused over the amount of concern that I was seeing from invite players over the Solemn Vow. B4nny, do you have much of an opinion on it? It sounded like you were pretty fine with it being unbanned in the meeting, but I might have misheard things.
Yeah, I think Array just made pretty much the best point against freaking out about the Solemn Vow, because I don't see it as that game-changing, and the times where it would actually like hurt you to run the Solemn Vow, you're probably going to be wishing you had the Uber Saw. Like, I think that will happen more often than not, because your team's communicating, your medic is keeping track of Uber, and also the concept of your medic actually peeking forward to get all this information is kind of
risky.
Yeah, it's really risky. Like, you don't see medics just like overextending to look at the enemy medic ever, and if they did, they'd just be asking to get focused and killed.
And even then, the Uber Saw is like pretty much more useful in almost any situation. If you're actually going to get close to melee, you might as well like get 25% more Uber.
Well, I only saw this. The only thing I thought about the Solemn Vow was it's very circumstantial. So, like, yeah, if you get that site, if you see the medic and he's running away, you'll know what Uber they have. But to me, the best thing I could see from it is that it would make it easier for people entering into competitive medic, because medic, it's an interesting class. I mean, to me, it's not that hard of a class, But at the same time, like, I think the barrier to entry for medic is like counting Ubers. That's something that's hard for a new player to pick up. So I feel like the Solemn Vow, it's something that I don't know if it'll necessarily lower the skill ceiling, but it might help some people enter into the scene. You know.
Yep. It'd be like maybe some training wheels or something like that.
Yeah, the medic's training wheels.
It won't affect the actual outcome of the game, you know, and that's kind of what I've been a proponent of this whole time. Is if there's an item that won't actually be game changing, you know, it won't make some random team of like new players be able to actually compete against the best teams, and even like in invite, like it won't make a bottom invite team the best invite team just by allowing this item. It doesn't really impact the way the game plays. It doesn't drastically shift which classes are relevant and how the game flows and all this stuff. So it shouldn't really be that big of a deal. And those are the items that should be allowed, even if they are slightly overpowered. You know, things like the crossbow are even other examples of that, but they don't ruin the game necessarily. They could maybe be nerfed slightly, but having the experience to actually speak about what their actual impact is much more valuable, in my opinion, than just theory crafting and just calling it overpowered when we've never even tried it.
Well, the crossbow is in a very interesting situation because, I mean, for what it is, the crossbow is a very powerful weapon. But at the same time, it's, at least in my opinion, it's one of the most it's had like one of the most positive impacts on
I agree.
medic. Because it turned the medic from a healing dispenser, a mobile dispenser, into an active player, more or less.
Yeah, for sure. The crossbow increases a lot of the skill ceiling of medic, I would say. But it also does it very excessively, but it's still fine because it doesn't ruin the game. And other items that I think would fall into that category that people have wanted to ban this time around are the Rescue Ranger and Girardi, which they don't really ruin the game whatsoever, but people want to ban them because they find them kind of out, like, it ruins their sense of familiarity and what they are used to, and I think most people are opposed to that, and that's what they find unfun. It's not really the fact that the items themselves are changing the game.
Right. And I think this might be going off topic a little, but there is something I have been wanting to ask an invite player who's in on the whitelist meetings and everything. And you were, back when ESEA met with the captains, you were also around at that time and going to those meetings, correct?
Yeah.
So
they used to send out like a spreadsheet, and you would like green light which items you did want to allow, and you'd put a red box if you didn't want to allow it, essentially.
Yes. So something I want to know, a lot of these whitelist meetings and everything, they're done hand in hand with, you know, Team Fortress TV and the admins from each league and everything. Does entertainment ever come to you guys' mind when making a decision? Not like entertainment necessarily just from playing, and not maybe just the whitelist or, you know, the map rotations or anything. Does that ever, like, the viewers' entertainment from the streams and everything, does that ever come to mind when you guys make decisions? Because I know there's, just like examples with the maps, there are certain maps people want to see the invite players play again.
Right. I don't think that catering to the viewers is the highest of priorities. I think that the approach that we have now is make the game good, make the matches good, and that will be enjoyable to watch. A lot of people that think that the viewers should come first are maybe not as familiar with some of the issues that the matches themselves would suffer from if we followed, you know, that approach. Things like playing Gravel Pit, for example, that's a really apparently that's a very spectator-friendly map, but playing it like practically as a team is not enjoyable. And it kind of undermines certain elements of competition as well.
But do you think that will be, that in 2017 that could be a growing factor in your decision making? so if TF2 competitive TF2 starts getting, you know, more views per match and everything, do you think that it will, I don't think it would ever be the top priority, but do you think that it will get to a point where the viewership is a priority with relation to the matches? Like maybe something different for like the top divisions where they're streaming, where the matches are being streamed every day.
Something hugely drastic would have to change within the landscape of TF2 for that like priority to change. And honestly, I think that the way that the TF2 competitive community is structured right now, with essentially TFTV having like so much power, and it's essentially just run by like a circle jerk of competitive players that don't really know what they're talking about a lot of the time. I don't think things are going to be changing. Like, these people resist change at almost every turn.
Yeah. Well, speaking of viewership, there's actually a very big event coming up for Team Fortress 2.
Oh yeah,
could
for
be
sure.
The biggest event of the year for the competitive community, and that is the Esports Arena LAN, which has been buzzed about ever since its announcement. And B4nny, you're one of the brains behind Esports Arena LAN. I know you and Sammy Face, you guys have worked long and hard on it. And can you just kind of give the viewers a taste of what it's going to be like? Explain some of the things to them that's happening.
Yeah. Esports Arena Rewind LAN, it's pretty exciting for us because it's the first major international LAN featuring teams from North America, Europe, and Australia that's taking place on American soil. And it's also happening at Esports Arena, which is an awesome venue that have run tons of professional tournaments in the past. And TF2 is the main game, and matches will be on the main stage and all that cool stuff. We have our own trophy and all that awesome stuff. Computers are going to be provided, and it's just going to be an amazing tournament. Yeah, the teams are all like practicing really hard for it, and everybody's I don't know, everybody's looking forward to it. If you're not coming, I'm gonna say it's a mistake.
I know it is. I wish I got my tickets. But the teams that will be attending, there's going to be, for those who don't know, there will be two different tournaments. There will be the Invite Tournament, which will be the top teams from each of the regions, the attending teams. They'll be playing in the Invite Division, and there will be the Open Division where you can sign up, you can pay a fee, sign up, and go play.
Right, yeah, I should have mentioned that too. So the invite bracket is just invited teams. There's 6 of them, which are 7 from Europe, Jasmine T from Australia, Froyotech, EVL, 20B, and Meat Market from North America. And so if you come to LAN, there's also an open bracket if you'd like to play. The signups are open right now online. The LAN, of course, is happening January 21st through 22nd. So it's next weekend in Santa Ana, California at Esports Arena. And yeah, you won't have to worry about playing against the invite players if you come to play. There might be some teams that feature some like known players in pugs, but they won't be top invite teams that you're playing against.
And you're gonna have, you guys, if you can go, I highly recommend you do. You'll get that, try and get that photo op with B4nny and Showstopper and some of the other just well-loved players from North America, and of course 7 from Europe and Jasmine T from Australia. Yep. And honestly, this LAN, it's kind of crazy how this LAN just came to be. Like, because after I-58, there was a huge discussion, like a huge movement to get another LAN in the year.
Yeah.
And I think you guys were already talking to Esports Arena at this point, or was that the initiative that started it? Because I know you host the SoCal LANs.
Yeah. So I've hosted 2 SoCal LANs before this, and they were at another local LAN center called Umba down here in Southern California, and that kind of planted the seed for wanting to expand the SoCal LAN scene for TF2 essentially. And the next logical step would have been something like Esports Arena. I'd volunteered there a couple times been through there with for some of the other events, so I was familiar with it, and it just was kind of like a dream to have it all come together for them to host a TF2 LAN. But luckily, we had some contacts with them. Sammy Face had been volunteering there, and actually now is a employee of Esports Arena, and she's the event lead for this.
Which is just also, just a side note, great for her. Like, it sounds like a dream job to me.
Yeah, she moved to California like less than a year ago for the intent purpose of finding a career in esports. So she's kind of living the dream right now, and getting to do it with TF2 for her first event is kind of cool too.
That's really awesome, yeah.
And this, like, the event, for those who don't know, like, this has pretty much been a labor of love from everyone. Like, even the people who were trying to find different venues and everything back during that time, because I remember being in the Discord and just reading everything. We had, for those who don't know, it was literally like the top of almost every division, or top of like every continent, like from the casters to the players. I mean, we had people like B4nny in there, Cadus was in there, even casters like Truck, Sideshow, X-Time. It was just a group effort, and seeing something come from that is just, it's really incredible. And guys, like, work for that isn't over. I mean, if you want to help host a TF2 event, you're always going to have people there who are willing to help out and try and actually get something done. And seeing this come to fruition, and not just end up being like, you know, a smaller, just a North American LAN, but an international LAN in January. Like, I just hope for you guys that everything goes as smoothly as and according to plan. And for the viewers, do you know where it's going to be streamed? Is it going to be on the Esports Arena Twitch or the Team Fortress TV?
It will be streamed on twitch.tv/esportsarena. And that's actually kind of an exciting opportunity, because their channel streams all of their events. They have their own production team and all that stuff, so they're quite experienced with running a stream that looks professional. But they've run tournaments for all kinds of different games, like Counter-Strike and Hearthstone and Smash. So there's a lot of different communities that are fans of the Esports Arena, and those are the kinds of people that are going to be exposed to TF2 for the first time, because they actually have more followers than even TFTV. So if we get all of TFTV's followers in on it and some of Esports Arena's followers, we could have a great turnout for viewership.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you actually kind of took part in history at Esports Arena. You played in the first official live Overwatch event there, did you not?
Yeah, I did play on a pug team with a bunch of other TF2 players for the Agents Rising Overwatch beta tournament.
And you got to see some familiar faces. I know you said you got to catch up with Harblu a little bit.
Oh yeah. I saw Harblu, I saw Dummy, Mezer, all those guys that are all now on pro Overwatch teams.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, I know in the Esports Arena Rewind LAN, TF2, there's two other games there. There's Shadowrun and Combat Evolved, Halo Combat Evolved, but TF2 is the main event. So this LAN is actually just a really big deal for the community, and I hope you guys give your support on that. Array, do you have anything? Are you looking forward to kicking back and watching some kick-ass TF2? On those days, 21st and 22nd, correct, B4nny?
Yeah, that's right.
I was actually going to participate.
Oh, you were?
Oh.
Yeah, no, I was
Plot twist.
talking about... Yeah, no, the Scotch lives just like an hour away from the area. I was going to hang out with him and sign up just for, you know, shits and giggles. Of course, no one's going to know it's me, but, you know, I'll be kind of undercover. What?
You're still planning to come?
Yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard that a lot of other TF2 community figures that aren't necessarily competitive associated, like Scott Jaw or Uncle Dane or Raja are planning to come as well.
Yeah, so, I just thought it would be a lot of fun, you know?
Yeah, so even if you're not that huge into competitive TF2, attendance is free, B4nny?
Yeah, if you just like to come down and spectate, it's completely free. Esports Arena is a LAN center, obviously, so if you'd like to play on any PCs, there's a LAN pass you can get for $15 for the weekend. If you play on a team in the open tournament or the invite tournament, you get access to the computers for the weekend as well for free, included in your tournament registration. And I'd just like also to mention that there are still ways to support the event that aren't necessarily just by watching or showing up, which are awesome, and you should all do that. But you can also crowdfund the prize pool for the event that benefits both the invite prize pool and the open prize pool. So top to bottom, it will benefit everybody competing, kind of raise the stakes and raise the profile of the event, and also help a lot of the teams that are traveling to the event to cover some of the expenses, because obviously none of these teams are sponsored by any companies that are paying all their way there. So the way to do it all is through Ustake, and if you check out the Ustake website, there is a crowdfunding thing that you can contribute to, and the cool thing also about it is each unique contribution will generate one free dollar to the prize pool. So if we got up to 5,000 people giving $1, there would be an additional $5,000 added. And so far, there's been about 100 unique contributors, including me and a lot of other people from the top levels of competitive TF2, just doing our part, I guess. But I think it could go a lot further, and I think everyone should try and help out and just make it as big as possible, really. There's also merch available, t-shirts, and a couple cool perks for contributing, like getting a photo on stage, or getting a tour of the studio at the Esports Arena, or even you can rent your own couch that you can watch the whole LAN from in the arena.
Dude, I want my own couch.
That's awesome.
I would rent a couch for that. But yeah, guys, it's going to be a great event, and you know, like I said, even if you're not big into competitive TF2, if you're in the area, you come by, you're most guaranteed to see some of your favorite community figures, like your Uncle Dane's in chat.
Yeah, relatable NG main. Shout outs to him.
Or your Rogers, or you can even get a photo with B4nny, or you can play the game of Guess Who ArraySeven is.
Yeah. Also, you can get a unique in-game medal if you participate in the tournament.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's correct. I forgot about that. And guys, events like this also don't come around that often, so I hope you guys show out to the stream and give your support to it. And if you can, go to the event. Don't do what I did and put off getting your tickets and then not having the money to actually get your tickets.
The good news is if this goes well, we can hope that another one will be much more realistic.
Oh yeah, the Esports Arena guys, they seem like great groups of people. I've never met any of them, but it seems like they do actually like TF2.
Yeah, they're all about
doing this.
They're all about community and like getting different communities involved and having them be represented and, you know, shown respect. So they've done a really good job of that.
Yeah, I saw that they actually, our good friend Showstopper already had them make a 3rd place trophy for you.
Yeah, and they also fully embrace memes, so that's also kind of cool, I guess.
Oh, I see what we're in for.
So, yeah, guys, be on the lookout and make sure you're rooting for your favorite team, supporting them. You can donate to the prize pool. You can you can even get that 20B t-shirt or support Seven or Jasmine T. Some of these teams, like B4nny said, they're having to pay out of their own pocket to get there, so some of the reimbursement, it does help them a lot. But it's going to be, I can't wait for it. I want it to be here already because I want to watch it.
Well, luckily it's only a week away. You can imagine, like, we've been playing this for months and months, so we've been just as eager. The only other thing, by the way, I just wanted to mention was we do have currently 2 sponsors for the LAN that I just wanted to shout out, which are Weed Maps, and Marketplace.tf, who have put significant contributions to the prize pool. And
can you repeat that first one again?
Yeah,
It's Weed Maps. They are a California-based like network of like weed dispensaries, which is you know, with proper medical documentation.
Oh, all right.
In California.
Okay, Benny. Okay.
Into esports. So.
Breaking news: California just has a gigantic burst of glaucoma.
Damn. But yeah, man, even and people, that was another topic that was in that Discord, that land planning Discord. There are a lot of sponsors out there that people don't think about like that. Like, as much as we love, like, these guys, they care about esports, they obviously care about TF2. So it's great that they're supporting the event, and if you guys are in California and the age of 21 or older, or have your medical card, make sure to use Weed Maps to find your local dispensaries. There you go. And,
also, Uncle Dane commented Vape Nation. Just want to point that out.
H3. And now, kind of winding down the podcast, you know, we've only got 1 or 2 more topics left, and then we'll be saying goodbye for now. Real quick, something I forgot to even plan out myself, but I do feel like we need to talk about it. Banny, Face It TF2.
Yeah. Something
we've all been, we were so excited about when it came out. Still, it still can go so far. They're out of beta, correct? You guys had a tournament, grand opening tournament a few weeks ago, right?
Well, Face It actually is in open beta still.
Still in open beta.
Yes.
Oh, you don't have to get the keys though anymore.
Right. Yeah, anyone can join Face It. I actually just put up a Face It walkthrough to kind of cover the basics of playing on Face It and what to expect, just like a couple days ago. And since then, there's actually been a lot of new people playing, which is great, because the key is to just get as many people playing as possible, and yeah, they'll support us if we support them, essentially.
I was gonna mention one thing, because we're talking about events and TF2 and all that cool stuff. Rally Call is also happening February 25th, 26th. I don't know. Raburn, what are your thoughts on that? Banny's casting it, so I thought I might want to bring it up.
Well, with Rally Call, Rally Call is it's a charity tournament, and it's what it's going to be is going to be everyone's favorite YouTubers and Ray,
and Ray,
all playing in 6v6 tournaments versus each other. And I've talked to some of the guys, and I'm still expecting, you know, to see the pyros and everything, but some of these guys, they've been practicing Soldier, they've been practicing Scout for they want to win this event.
Really? They've been we haven't even practiced.
And then on top of that, our commentators will be high profile, either former players or current players, or just high level casters who have, you know, their names carry some weight. We're gonna, in that roster, since it's a lot easier to name off that roster than all the teams playing, will be Warher, Bren from Bren Casts, Admirable, Marxist, Dreamboat, and our very own Banny. These guys will all be casting for that event, and it's going to be a great time. It's going to be interesting to see how some of these casters are going to react to seeing sixes played in a way they would have never thought they would be casting sixes played.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm just glad I'm not casting again. I think the last time we
all
happened, we were like casting with Chili at Destiny. So he's the voice for the Scout, isn't he?
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And
Yeah,
the poor
he is,
guy,
yeah.
The poor guy. He couldn't get a word in edgewise. I was just babbling, and it's moments like that that kind of make me sad that people ask me to commentate. I'm terrible at it. I really am.
It makes you grateful for the shoutcasters.
Yeah, for people who are actually good at it. Absolutely.
They make matches so much more entertaining to watch. Believe me, if you have never watched a match with a bad caster, it's just like a completely different experience. But yeah, it's going to be a 2-day tournament happening February 25th and 26th, and there are a lot of great people on board. Even we've got King Raja, ArraySeven, we've got Uberchain actually working on their medals that you can get by donating to the charity event. And all the proceeds, I'm trying to remember the charity that it is for right now off the top of my head, but I am just struggling to do that. So one moment while I find that. But B4nny, are there any people that you're interested in casting? Are you just chomping at the bit to cast Raja running his demo knight to mid?
Demo knight to mid, yeah, viable.
I don't know the full roster of people playing, but I mean, I definitely am expecting a lot of craziness like that, and I think that'll be fun. I'm not going to be like expecting like a top invite match by any means, so I'm just going to have fun with it.
Yeah, and it's kind of serving, I think it's kind of serving a lot of purposes, you know. It's getting that, you know, it's just, for one, having fun. The most important thing about TF2 is whatever you're doing, as long as you're having fun. Two, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a good blend of, you know, some people from the competitive community and from the casual community. You know, spend some time together. And I mean, at least in my opinion, it shows people what sixes looks like with absolutely no rules.
Right, yeah, pretty much. Unorganized YouTuber sixes. The glory.
I played in the very first rally call event ever for TF2, and I can honestly say I appreciated sixes a lot more afterwards.
Right, yeah, for sure.
And there are going to be some events happening. There are some incentives. If you if you donate, you can get into some of the pre and post events with you know, some of your favorite personalities. You know, some of your favorite YouTubers will be in those games, like the balloon race and everything. Might even see a caster or two drop in and try and take over the game for those events. But there will be one post event I know of after the grand finals, which will be on Sunday, and there will be the pre-event will be the balloon race, and that'll be at Friday, 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time or 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I think it's going to be a fun event, guys. I don't know about you, but I am really excited for 2017 Team Fortress 2. I started getting a little nervous towards the end of 2016, but you know, 2017's here, and I think it's going to be a great year for this game that we all love.
Yeah, I agree. I think 2017 will be pretty big.
It's a 10-year anniversary. It's got to be something special.
I hope so.
But I think I don't know. Array, do you have any closing comments? I feel like I'm gonna have to start saying ArraySeven for no confusion.
Yeah, just say Array. Yeah, like wait, Array, a singular ray.
But Array, do you have anything for closing?
Nothing really. I mean, everything you could ever come up with, I've kind of already said. You know, a lot of the topics I've had, you know, today, I really didn't have that much experience with, except maybe the quick fix. And all I know about that is that it's annoying to heal demo knights with it. I'll tell you that much.
Oh God.
Yeah.
They charge and you go with them.
Yeah.
You get charged right into a pipe. Well, that's all mediguns now, isn't it?
No. That was a glitch. That was a bug that they had way back when they first changed that. So they changed it now, so the only quick fix does it.
Oh, thank God. That would be terrifying. Just getting charged right into a pyro. And Ray, do you have any closing statements, any words of wisdom that you wish to instill upon the viewers?
No, I'm just checking my Discord and they're posting memes of me in there. I just fucking fan bases, dude. No, not really. Everything that's been said has been said.
What a humble remark to go out on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, This has been the Missing Intel Podcast, the first episode of 2017. For any future podcasts, you can always come back to this Twitch link. And I just want to take a moment to thank you, B4nny, for joining us. It was kind of short notice.
Yeah, really short notice, but thanks for hosting me as well.
I really enjoyed the discussion, and I'm sure Ray loved the channel boost.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks. Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. That is the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.